everyone, to another faculty interview for Footsteps Academy. Footsteps Academy is a place where teachers teach and students learn, and we take everything step by step, good action steps, and a lot of really, really good information on every topic imaginable. We are recruiting teachers currently for everything from arts and crafts to business skills to private, personal self-improvement, health and fitness, you name it. So if you are a teacher or want to be a teacher for Footsteps Academy, by all means go and see us at footstepsacademy.com so you and I can have a conversation and we can decide whether this might be something that's good for you. So let me introduce to you our brand new faculty member, Amy Sauder. Amy, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
Oh, well, we are so glad to have you on board. This is a great new course or series of courses that you're going to be doing for us. And I'm really excited because you're a writer.
Yes, I am.
And
I love it.
as a person who loves to write and loves to read, writers have always been very significant in my life. So what I want to know from you is, how did you initially become passionate about writing?
Well, as a child, I loved to read. I learned to read very early, and I loved writing books. I just had my parents staple some paper together and write a sentence or a picture on each page. As I grew older, I did actually start to hate reading when it became chapter books because it was too long and couldn't keep my attention. But my mom didn't give up, and about high school, I finally was able to start reading like 40-page books that were chapter books, but they were definitely for middle schoolers. And I slowly grew from there into loving reading and writing again. It's always been a passion of mine, just story in general, and so I didn't ever think I would be a professional writer for a very long time. It was just a hobby. And then I admitted to myself in college that I wanted to be a writer. I was just scared that I couldn't be. And that's when I finally decided that I was actually going to pursue this writing career, that if I just kept learning and growing, I could do it. It was just fear that was holding me back. So that's how I kind of got into writing.
So, but you broke through that fear, and now this is a business for you. What exactly do you do in your writing business?
Well, I am a blogger. You can find me at amylsauder.wordpress.com. I blog about all sorts of things, whatever I'm in the mood in. Sometimes it's about writing, but other times it's just about what's going on in my life, or short stories, or something like that. I'm also working on a paranormal young adult novel that I'm hoping to have published at some point. So that's a long-term goal. It's about a girl whose body parts attach and she runs away to the circus. It's a real fun book. I'm not just passionate about writing, I'm passionate about teaching writing. So I try to balance my writing with my teaching, spend a fair amount of time on both.
You teach writing. With your writing business, you also teach writing. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with teaching and education?
Yeah, I think I was actually an educator just as long as I've been a writer, and that I loved playing teacher as a kid. I gave my siblings and neighbors homework just for fun. I don't know how fun they found it, but I thought it was really fun. And I studied education for a while in college before I realized that I didn't like the typical classroom environment. So I thought I wouldn't get into teaching, but my main job in college was a tutor. And then when I got out of college, my first job was actually teaching for the Red Cross. It just kept going back to me teaching. And I loved teaching at the Red Cross. It was flexible. You never knew what class you'd get or what the class time would look like. So there was enough structure to keep me focused. There was enough fluidity to keep me interested. So I continued teaching here and there on writing. During that time, also small local groups or one-on-one teaching. It's been really great. I love teaching in this environment where it's a little different. It's my own style. It's not in a classroom. So I've been doing that. And then I also have a Facebook secret society for high schoolers that are into writing or the arts. It's a private group that they can throw out questions or inspiration or get advice or feedback or support. So I really love doing that, too, to stay involved with the youth in that.
I love that. That's great. I mean, working with young people has always been something I've also enjoyed. And there's something brilliant about their creative processes that are just adventurous and sometimes a little timid at first, but I love to see when they're supporting one another. That's the best kind of teaching, is when the students start actually responding to one another and creating community.
Yeah, writing is such a solitary environment, task thing, but it's also, you need a community, you need collaboration, so it's really interesting finding that balance and helping others find that too, and that they need a group even though you're writing alone lots of the time.
Right, exactly. And I found that in my business and other things, that when everything that's happening is happening in your own head and you don't have a sounding board, someplace where you can go and say, hey, I have this kind of idea, but I'm not really sure if it's great or not, or I really need a kick in the tail because I need to get this started and I'm just not doing, can you guys hold my feet to the fire or whatever. Having some kind of a team or collaborative group is just really cool. And that's one of the things I love about our particular platform, is every single one of our lessons has its own private little forum where the students can get together, they can talk about the lessons, they can ask questions, and they can respond to one another, as well as a teacher being able to respond to questions. So it's almost like being in the classroom with the teacher, which is really kind of cool and very different than a lot of teaching platforms that are out there. You have a full-time job. How do you fit all this stuff in?
Yeah, I work as the executive assistant at the Red Cross in Central Illinois, so it's not all writing that I do all the time, but it's really about having your priorities. I used to just squeeze writing and teaching into my free time, but the funny thing is that free time always fills up, and so there is no free time. How do you find time for something you're passionate about? Well, you don't find it, you make it. And so that's what I had to do. I had to start putting writing time and teaching time into my schedule, because if I didn't schedule writing days, then it wasn't going to happen. So I have to schedule it just like I schedule my work days. And actually most writers out there have a full-time job outside of writing, so it's not some weird thing that all of these famous published authors have just all this excess time that they fill up with writing. It's that they're making time for writing, and I need to make time for writing too. And so I do that through scheduling it. I just think, I can't back out of work or my supervisor can fire me, and I can't back out of writing or teaching. My passion might not show up for the next meeting, so I have to do it. So it's just about choosing my priorities and scheduling it.
Right. And I think, I can't remember the name of this particular writer, but the whole idea was there was a young person who was writing to a famous writer saying, how do I become an author? How do I become a writer? And his response, and I'm paraphrasing this, was, if you want to become a writer, then you need to write. And that means that you don't just do it in the corners of your time. If you really are passionate about something, you make time for it, like you said. I find that if I plan my day as, okay, I'm going to schedule this amount of time to do blog posts and commenting on blog posts and all of the different things that I do towards marketing for the school, I have to set a time that says I'm going to do this from this time to this time. And then you have to then, of course, be in integrity with yourself to actually follow through on that. But you should have a time every day. And all the successful writers that I'm aware of or I've had any relationships with have all said the same thing, that they sit down at a certain time every day and they just write. I know that your tagline is creations from once upon to ever after. What exactly do you mean when you say that?
When I was coming up with the tagline, all of my social media is Amy L. Sauder, just my name. But I wanted something that defines me and about what I'm about. And so I was thinking about it, and, well, writing, of course, but it's not just writing. I'm passionate about all avenues of creative expression. Writing is my main one because I can't dance or paint to save my life. I try, and I appreciate it all, but I really can't. So it's creation. It's all creations, whatever that creating looks like. And creating is really a process from the beginning to the end of the creation. It's, from once upon to ever after. It's a journey. Those that follow my social media can see the journey, my once upon to ever after, what's going on in my process of creating. And then those who take my classes can have help on whatever part of the journey of creating that they're in, from their once upon to their ever after, whatever that is. So that's how I came up with creations from once upon to ever after.
So you deal with writers who are just, they kind of always sort of wanted to write a book, but they never actually got around to it, and they don't really know how to get started, to people who are already in the process and are trying to hone their writing skills and are looking towards eventual publication, that sort of thing, and what they need to do next.
Yeah. Anyone can write if they really, really want to, and they put the work in the same way that anyone can paint if they really, really want to and put the work in. It might not be Picasso or Da Vinci. It might not be Stephen King or Shakespeare. There's a skill level, though, that anyone can reach if they really are working at it. And so in that sense, my classes are designed for anyone who's wanting to write. But my first class is actually one that will help a student decide if they want to write, knowing what it actually takes to be a writer. And so my main focus at the start is actually those who have thought about writing a book, but they don't know if they should or if they could or how they would even start, and that's for beginners. I want to give the tools to know if this is something a student would like to pursue, and then to know how to pursue it. And then as I put more classes out there, I want to include more advanced materials that any writer at any stage could benefit from, classes that have to do with any part of the writing business, not just the actual writing part, whether it be the blogging or the querying or the branding or self-publishing. It's all a part of the writing world that writers need to know
Correct.
and learn and study. So I want to include all aspects of that eventually.
That's awesome. If I'm a writer, I'm thinking about publishing my book, you're going to show me that I have options and what those options are and the pros and cons of how those options work, that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm talking about, how it works for traditional publishing, how it works for self-publishing. There's those in-between things, the smaller publishing houses. I want to talk about just what each of those entails in terms of the writer's responsibility in those and help the writer find the right fit for them.
And I know that also there are a lot of things that you have to look out for.
Yes, definitely. You have to look out for the scams. Hopefully I can make sure and have some information on how to watch for those sorts of scams. Lots of it is common sense, but obviously there's some that are really clever and come up with good ways to trick you.
Right.
So.
When people think about writing, there's this kind of prosaic thing that goes on in their head about how lovely it is to write a book and be published, and it just kind of sounds so romantic, right? But the fact of the matter is, most writing, especially now in our digital age, people blog, people post on Facebook and LinkedIn and forums and all those kind of things, and that's writing per se. But to be an author, a published author, now we're changing that from writing for fun to writing for profit. And that's something different. There are a lot of people out there that think that they're going to go out there, they're going to write their book and make $1 million. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of discipline and knowledge and understanding that you have to have in order to be successful. What would you say is the number one reason people fail to succeed in the writing business?
Well, I think there's two types of failing that stem from the same reason. There's the failures that we can see to some extent. There's, people who have written a lot, but they can't seem to get published, or maybe worse, the people that go and self-publish, and then it's a horrible book. Maybe there's lots of typos, or it's just not really written and structured well. For whatever reason, that self-published book tanks. That's one type of failing. And then the other type would be the people that we don't see, the people that always thought about writing a book and want to write a book, but they never get around to it. And I think both of those types of people stem from not learning about the writing world. It's not just about acing your high school English class. You know, lots of people think, well, if I get good grades in English, then I could become an author. But there's more to the writing process, and there's, besides that, even more to learn after the writing about getting your name out there to agents, to publishers, to the world. With marketing and stuff, you have to keep learning about not just the writing, but the other aspects of the writing business. And so some writers, I think, don't realize what they don't know, and so they don't look to learn more from others. And then there's those who just never get around to writing the book, and I think it's just so overwhelming that they don't know where to start. That's a big thing that can help writers succeed. Obviously, there's lots of things, but it's just continuing to go out there and learn more about the writing business as a whole.
This interview is for the benefit of potential students as they're choosing the different faculty members that they would like to be engaged with. Tell me, what can students expect to learn from your classes?
Well, I like to have a lot of practical stuff in my teaching, and then I'm also a mix of inspirational and tough. I'm not going to go out and say that it's easy to get published, because it isn't, and you have to devote yourself to writing. It's going to take time and energy. But I am inspirational in that I say, if you want it, you can do it. But at the same time, all the inspiration and reality checks in the world, they're not going to get you published unless you actually start writing. So what I offer is very practical, too. There's questions I ask along the way to think about, to write about. There's downloadable sheets to process everything in the class afterwards. None of it's required homework per se, but if you want to be a writer, you have to write. And so my big push is that when class is over, you need to actually start writing. I'm definitely accessible via email during the class, after the class. It's a recorded class, so whenever the student's taking it, they can contact me via email for any questions they have about the material or about their work in progress. I wish it could be an in-person writing session. I want to be there for the students.
And within the Footsteps Academy platform, where the classes actually happen, we have a built-in forum for each lesson where the students can ask questions, and you can answer them. And what's really nice about that, asking it within the forum, unless it's something maybe a little more private, is that then the other students can also learn from the questions that have already been asked, as well as interacting with one another and maybe talking about their own experiences and like that. So there's some sharing that happens there that is really dynamic and exciting. So Amy, I love the fact that you are a new faculty member with Footsteps Academy. You're exactly the kind of person that we love to have on board with us, because you are so passionate about your topic. You are so extremely knowledgeable, and our students will benefit in so many ways from what you are about to teach. Writing is such an essential skill in everything from business to interacting in your world to potentially doing everything from some kind of media journalism to being a writer for instance, a magazine, being a blogger, actually publishing material out there in so many different formats. The benefits of what you have to offer are so far-reaching that I am so excited to see what we're going to be able to do in the future in regards to, for instance, there are a lot of people in online marketing who write ebooks to bring people onto their lists and like that. It's not necessarily getting published as an author on the Amazon.com list, but even more than that, all the different applications of writing, being able to write well and being able to understand the different applications is vital to anyone who wants to become a part of the digital world that we live in now. We are excited about what you're doing because we think that what you're teaching is extremely valuable and extremely necessary, and we will be doing a lot of serious promotion of your classes. How can we stay updated on the classes that you have available? Because I understand that there will be a lot of different courses and pretty far-reaching implications. So how do we stay in contact with that, with you?
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping to have a lot of material out there. The Footsteps Academy website will keep updated with that information, and I believe we'll have an interview for about my upcoming classes too. Of course, anyone can go ahead and follow Footsteps Academy or me on social media for those updates. And then once any student has signed up for my first free course or for any courses after that, they will be added to my email sign-up list so that they'll be informed of any classes that get added as they come out.
Terrific. Well, Amy, this is going to be a great journey with us to get to see all of the wonderful things that you're going to teach us. I'm always interested in improving my writing and improving my opportunities for publication. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, and welcome to the Footsteps Academy faculty.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to get started.
That'll be all for us today. Thank you so much for being with us today. We're really glad that we had an opportunity to speak with Amy today. And if you want to find out more about our other Footsteps Academy faculty and courses, go to footstepsacademy.com and poke around. You're going to find some really interesting stuff there. Thank you very much, and everybody have a great and educated week.